So they have like basically like so we do like precise surveys every year to see if there's any overall movement in the structure, and then we have like 110 years. In 1914, there was a disastrous regional flood that caused a heavy toll on lives and property. That really led to people at the time demanding solutions to these. This wasn't the first time happening in the area, so they really demanding solutions to this problem. So in 1915, the Los Angeles County Flood Control District was created, really with the primary purposes of providing flood risk management and also providing for water conservation within Los Angeles County. So the district has been in operation now for over close to 110 years. And since 1984, Public Works has come in and we basically manage the day-to-day operations and maintenance activities on behalf of the district. So in this presentation, or just in general, you may kind of hear Flood Control District or Public Works. Generally, at this point, they kind of mean the same thing. So as far as the district and its infrastructure currently, we operate and maintain a complex flood control and water conservation system. The boundaries of the Flood Control District cover over 2,700 square miles. We have a very big area that we're trying to cover and protect. Some of the highlights of the infrastructure that we have 14 major dams and reservoirs, San Dimas Dam being one of those major dams and reservoirs. As well, within the city of San Dimas, we have Pudding Stone Diversion Dam, which is just immediately downstream of this dam and is located across from the golf course, the San Dimas Golf Course. And then going further downstream from that, we have Pudding Stone Dam, which is part of Benelli Park. So those are kind of the three major dams we have within and adjacent to the city of San Dimas.
So 3 of the 4
are different instrumentation. Okay. So this is one of where we have two big parts of the dam come together.
Location. And then we have to make sure that the dam can withstand that earthquake without failing and releasing the whole reservoir with it. So fortunately, this dam was built a long time ago, but fortunately the designers at the time, they built things very robust. So back in the mid-70s, we went back, Public Works went back and took a look at this particular facility, reanalyzed it for seismic, geological, and hydrological conditions, and determined, in general, the structure itself is sound, but there was some work that needed to be done to bring it up to modern dam safety conditions. So between 1977 and 1980, they completed a rehabilitation project, and to help mitigate any seismic concerns at this facility, they did a lot of grouting underneath the dam and at the abutments, which is basically the rocks on either side of the dam. And that was in order to cut off seepage from the reservoir and also help reduce any uplift pressures from water that might infiltrate under the dam. We also did a lot of anchoring of our left abutment rock mass. So each of these little platforms you see here, we have tendon anchors that help hold that rock into place. So if we have an earthquake, we're not going to lose the rock that's helping to support this dam. So with that effort, this dam is basically safe to resist that maximum credible earthquake. And the state, who is overseeing the dam safety for this facility, authorizes us to basically use this dam up to its full capacity without I think it was mentioned earlier, but for those who weren't here, this dam was built by the Flood Control District between 1920 and 1922. It is the second oldest dam that the Flood Control District has. The first one was Devil's Gate Dam, which is in Pasadena. This one was built just 2 years afterwards. So it stands about 102 years old now. Anybody want to take a guess at how much it cost to build in 1920? How much?
22.
$600,000,
Oh, wow.
which is
What's the
equivalent.
price of a house today?
Yes, it's equivalent to like $10 million. I guess in today's dollars, if you do the standard inflation calculation.
It was like about 5,000 CFS, but there's another I guess ravine over there, valley over there that comes in south of here. So do you know what?
You mean like the maximum that the watershed could generate?
Yeah, from that comes into the dam.
So the maximum. Sterling touched on it. We have another criteria, the extreme criteria that we designed for dam, which is called the maximum probable flood. So that's basically the worst flooding that you could conceivably imagine within the watershed occurring, at one time, and then what's the flood that would generate from that. So in this case, it's roughly equivalent to like a 10,000 year storm. It's a very extreme storm. In this case, that flood could generate a flow of up to 28,600 CFS, which
we only
is
did 100 years.
it's a lot more, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot more than 100 years. It's a lot more than the normal flood control valves can handle, and that's where our spillways come in. So before I move on to the spillways as the next one, just real quick, talking about the valves and the releases. When we do make releases, we do notifications, which includes notifications to the city, in particular because when we have flows at around 600 CFS or above, we do have that culvert just north of the golf course, which can basically overtop. So that's one thing, when we're operating the dam, we have to be careful about downstream restrictions. And then if there are potentially conditions where we would have to exceed the 600, we want to make sure the notifications are in place and everything is coordinated well in advance, because we don't want to cut off people on either end of the road or have issues. So that's just, I think, something that ties into our work with the city as far as, that's more of a routine day-to-day type of operation that we have. That structure is where we have our 2 primary flood control gates. So the water will come in, and then when we open up the gates, it will go through a tunnel that's built into the dam and be released on this end. So we have 2 4-foot by at the boat open, and we have a full reservoir. In addition to that, we have a 5x5 gate, which is on the outside of that structure. That helps us to drain the reservoir down when it's at lower levels. Water that would be going to get the water line a little bit faster. Another feature, in terms of dimensions, the structure is 117 feet tall. Measured here along the crest, it's 340 feet long. Our width at the top here is about 11 feet wide, and then our maximum but it is becoming a lot more significant than it used to be. I think Sterling was talking about climate change, it being drier, and we've got more people in the region. We're seeing a lot more wildfires, and when they occur, they're a lot bigger, and they're causing a lot more damage. So this particular facility has been impacted in the past, and the last cleanout was in 2009, where 520,000 tons of sediment and debris were removed and hauled to a landfill in Upland. So right now we basically have a clean reservoir. We're at template, so we have all the capacity. In terms of debris capacity of the reservoir, we can handle 2.4 million cubic yards of material as a maximum. With a fully burned watershed, our calculated design debris event is 1.4 million cubic yards, so we have kind of additional capacity. But again, when we do have a wildfire, it will come in quickly. Just to illustrate from the past Bobcat fire, at our Santa Anita Dam, which is located west of here, 98% of that watershed burned in the Bobcat fire. The first year after the Bobcat fire, it was basically a dry storm season. So that reservoir had already been cleared of sediment, and we didn't have any sedimentation at the time. That first storm season was dry. We didn't see any debris coming through. But that next storm season, we got two very strong storms in the month of December. So within a 1 month period, 2 storms, we had a significant amount of debris come in. So basically we couldn't see it for a month because we had water, but once the water drained in January, we saw we had 40 feet measured at the dam face of sediment that just came in. And that buried half of our outlets at the time. And then basically the preceding storms after that, the next 2 storm seasons, buried all our regular outlets, and we were gonna bury our last outlet before we were able to get in and initiate our clean out project. So I want to emphasize that to the city, because if we do have another wildfire that impacts this facility, Public Works, we want to move on it quickly. We will need probably support from the city, because I think at this location it involves hauling. Typically residents and people, they don't like the truck traffic, but it is something that if we're going to do it, that's one of the ways it has to be done. So we will probably need the support from the city to help, work with the residents for them to understand what's occurring and why we're basically running trucks, through the streets. And
It's a good second career.